It's been 3 years. A debate that has lasted since the beginning of time. Since 2017, actually, but this is more fun to say. A debate comparing two games that are literally nothing alike. Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild were huge games, and it's really hard to believe that both are 3 years old. I feel like the Switch came out like tomorrow. When these games came out, they were the reason to own a Switch, and they still are, on top of like Smash Ultimate and maybe Splatoon 2. Like, no one buys a Switch to play the Deer God. Both are still pretty big even today, and it's still fun to compare the two, even though they are fundamentally pretty different. But who cares? You could compare anything with at least one similarity. Let's see. They both have grass. We will compare these games in a few different categories: gameplay, controls, story, visuals/aesthetics, and preference. All of which are going to be my opinions. Just because I like one better than the other doesn't necessarily mean that one is a better game. I think they're both equally fantastic, and it's going to be really hard to decide a victor. So let's jump, or climb, your choice, into it. Both Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey fare pretty well in terms of gameplay. You may have heard that Mario Odyssey took a more open approach to it, like Super Mario 64 and Sunshine, and it's true. You can explore anywhere, and you get rewarded for exploring different places and trying new things with moons. In this game, you have to collect a certain amount of moons in each level to fuel your ship, the Odyssey. In doing so, you are able to travel from kingdom to kingdom. Each kingdom is vastly different from the previous one, and it's so exciting to run around and fling your cap onto everything. Cappy is going to be the core mechanic of Mario Odyssey. You can fling him around all over the place, and you have a few ways to do so as well. You can capture your enemies and use their abilities, use that as a way of traversal, break stuff, you know the drill. It's like a little playground, and it gives you the fun that Mario 64 gave everyone back in the 90s. A new feature is dressing Mario up. You could use your coins to buy some outfits for Mario in these shops, and you could also collect these purple coins, which you could buy outfits and other things to decorate the Odyssey. I could turn this into my little man cave, which is what I'd say if Mario wasn't shorter than the average man. Oh, and how could I forget the 2D sections, which is such a cool homage to Super Mario Bros. On the NES. His little outfits carry over as well. Mario Odyssey isn't too challenging. It was fairly short, and nothing was too frustrating. Bosses always gave me enough time to learn their movement and figure it out in at most 3 tries. If you want a challenge, you could battle the bosses again after beating the game. It's a good difficulty level, but if it's still too hard, there's an assist mode, which I never used, or a 2-player mode. It doesn't really function well, but it's there. On the other hand, Breath of the Wild decided to turn into Dark Souls.
Hey, he just
Man, this guy
Dark
sucks. Well, it's true. Okay, I'm being a bit dramatic. It isn't that hard, but it's still a step up from the other Zelda games. You have limited stamina, breakable weapons, and this dumb blood moon, which decides to revive all of the monsters, now giving them a desire to taste your blood. It sounds like I'm complaining, but I accept the challenges and the changes made. Breakable weapons means you have to be smarter with how you use them. You're able to gain a bit more stamina by beating shrines, and the blood moon is just evil, actually. I hate it. But every time you face an enemy, you learn the ins and outs, and you gradually become more skilled and learn different strategies. You could explore everywhere in Breath of the Wild. You could climb pretty much anything except the shrines, and there's no correct way to traverse an area because everything is connected. You get different abilities from beating shrines, all of which allow you to solve puzzles and beat more shrines. Your Sheikah Slate is your friend here, giving you access to a map and being able to unlock shrines and stuff. Beating a shrine gets you a spirit orb, which you could trade in for more heart containers or stamina. Oh, look at Gordon Ramsay here. You could cook food in Breath of the Wild, allowing you to mix and match ingredients until you can make something. Certain ingredients, when cooked together, give you special abilities like cold resistance or temporary stamina. Or you could put in monster parts and make dubious food. Just like Mama used to make them. You could also solve puzzles and find Koroks in around the place. Korok seeds could give you more inventory space, and only 441 seeds are required to take out his inventory. Screw this, I'm not doing that. Breath of the Wild has no easier difficulty, which is unfortunate, but it does have a master mode, which is somewhat of a new game plus. Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece, no doubt about it. It went beyond the boundaries of other 3D Zeldas and ran with a bunch of ideas. But if I were to choose a winner in this category, it'd be Mario Odyssey. Breath of the Wild was definitely more innovative, but Mario Odyssey was just all around more fun play with more things to do. I didn't hate what Breath of the Wild did, I just prefer Mario Odyssey's playstyle. Mario Odyssey had some pretty diverse playstyles, with all of the different capture mechanics and motion controls. However, the motion controls aren't amazing. They often misread your movement, especially when making an upwards motion or a spinning motion. I never really used the motion controls. Some people say it enhances the gameplay, but I just prefer handheld mode. However, this comes with limitations because there are some motion control only movements, but none of them are mandatory or even that useful, to be honest. I only ever use motion controls to climb faster by shaking the Joy-Cons, but that's about it. Speedrunners may actually get some good use out of using the one Joy-Con per hand control method, but I guess you could do whatever works best for you. Well, actually, a good amount of power moons and objectives may not be achievable with the Switch Lite, as it, of course, doesn't support motion controls or HD rumble. I guess it's kind of annoying, but Mario Odyssey clearly wasn't made with the Switch Lite in mind. Aside from all the motion control mumbo-jumbo, there wasn't really any huge flaws with controls. It's more often than not very responsive, and jumping around is nice and fun. I've wasted so much time just hopping everywhere and trying out different move combos. This truly is like a childhood dream, like what an HD Mario 64 might feel like. You get the wide open free roaming, and the game doesn't even kick you out of levels after you collect the power moons. Capturing enemies and using their abilities worked nicely as well. All the enemies felt great to control, and nothing was ever offensively slippery, except the ice levels, I guess. Again, co-op mode will be co-op mode, and there's nothing I can do about that. Breath of the Wild had some pretty great controls overall. You get a decent amount of control and weight to Link. Aiming arrows with motion controls are nice, and the variety of moves that you can pull off with the shield feels nice as well. Using the abilities that you unlocked in the shrines is okay, but nothing bad. Everything is nice and responsive, so Breath of the Wild wins this category. Is what I would say if it weren't for the game-breaking issues that I had. The motion control use other than aiming is absolutely horrible. It does not follow the rotation of my Joy-Cons at all, and it is super frustrating. This one specific puzzle with the torches was so frustrating. I locked the fountain to the right in a stasis and brought down the fountain on the left, but because the motion controls were unresponsive, the stasis unlocked and all my hard work was ruined. Not to mention that when an enemy hits you and you are falling down a hill, you roll for an eternity, and you take buttloads of damage as well. These things are enough to break the game sometimes, and that's why Mario Odyssey, while still pretty flawed, takes the win by 1.5 miles. Hey, you wanna hear a bedtime story? So, once upon a time, Bowser kidnaps Peach. Yeah, I thought so too. Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser so much. You think that they'd learn their lesson and make Bowser-proof walls or something, but oh boy, here he is again, about to marry Peach. I'm not sure how old Bowser is or how old Peach is, but I don't think I want to find out. So Mario gets his cap shredded, and he gets thrown off this flying boat, and awakes to find Cappy, who got his sister kidnapped by Bowser as well. Oh, okay, good thing we're not only saving one princess. Cappy helps you out, and you gotta use Cappy's ship, the Odyssey, to get there. But you'll need some power moons in order to do that, and you can find them everywhere. Even the shopkeepers get their grubby hands on them. Eventually, you'll make it over to where Bowser and Peach are having their wedding. The moon? I didn't know this was Super Mario Galaxy 3. Eventually, you crash Bowser's party and possess him. That's so creepy. So then you all make it out, and then you footstool Bowser to live happily ever after with the princess. With Breath of the Wild, they could have gone with a Zelda gets kidnapped plot, but with Zelda games, you never really know. So you are awakened as Link from a century of slumber, and you go into the outside world to find that Ganon is awakening, and you need to stop him. Zelda's containing Ganon with the last of her power, but it isn't enough, so it's up to you to destroy him. But you were asleep for 100 years, and you've lost all your memories. Most of the actual story is told through the memories, which are basically 13 different, well, memories of what happened before the Calamity. These are all optional, but they're still interesting to see, as you get all the backstories for the champions, get to see Zelda's struggles in controlling her powers, watch her reject Link, and watch how everyone dies. And they are saved in your Sheikah slate, so you watch it all the time. Yeah, Link, eat the frog, you coward. Eventually, you'll have to fight Ganon, and he has so many different forms. In the final stage, you shoot at him with Zelda's Bow of Light, and the Divine Beasts if you freed them. And finally, Zelda seals Ganon away, losing her power in the process. Now this is a very watered down version of the story, but it's definitely much more interesting and refreshing than that of Mario Odyssey. When it comes down to visual and aesthetics, both perform very well. Mario Odyssey is so nice looking. All of the different kingdoms bring so many new flavors to your eyes. Each kingdom represents so many different themes and cultures. Sand Kingdom is reminiscent of Egypt. Metro Kingdom is literally New York City but Donkey Kong. Apparently Bowser really likes Asian people, cause just look at Bowser Kingdom. Almost all of the kingdoms were as if they were made with the cartoony nature of Mario in mind. Each one is so immersive and fun to explore. You know, my original mindset was to just beat the game, but honestly you have to collect more moons. The music and sound design as well is absolutely amazing. You have the main themes for each kingdom, which are all incredible to listen to. And then you enter the 2D sections and it plays a chiptune version of the song with an orchestra in the background, which is just so cool. The little jingle that plays whenever you get a moon is carried over as well. I also love how there are different themes for which moons are part of the main story and which ones are for the Collectomaniacs out there. Oh, and in New Donk City, during that Donkey Kong 2D section, Jump Up Superstar plays, which is essentially the main theme of this game. And I have to say, combining the jazzy feel of this with chiptune and all the fireworks and bright colors, oh man. Do you know how long I had that stuck in my head? Now there wasn't much in terms of voice acting and stuff, but just having characters grunt is fine, I guess. I don't really know what to say. It's breathtaking. Breath of the Wild basically blows everything out of the water in terms of visuals. The moment you exit the Shrine of Resurrection, you are greeted to the vast scope of Breath of the Wild as you just stand there on that cliff and look at how small and insignificant everything below you is, and how massive the world is, and sometimes you just don't even want to move. Breath of the Wild, instead of being segmented like in previous games, you get one giant world where you can go wherever the heck you want. You have grassy plains, sandy deserts, freezing mountains. Really, the only complaint I have about the graphical design is that all the shrines are the same, but that's a big whatever. The graphics took on a minimalist approach called cell shading, and it emphasized more on the bigger picture rather than the tiny little details. There are some frame rate drops here and there, and some pop-in graphics as well, sure, but it does not impact your experience. Well, if you play it on Wii U, you wouldn't get these issues at all. No, bad me, no one owns a Wii U. Oh yeah, and this Zelda game actually has voice acting, and it's...
Wake up, Link.
Okay, I guess. You won't notice if you don't focus too much on it, but it's a nice touch, and it adds some personality to these characters. The sound design here is so expertly designed. At first, I was kind of opposed to the fact that, hey, there's no music, and when there is, it sounds like people are playing instruments at random. Well, I'm glad I'm different from 2017 me, because the lack of music replicates Breath of the Wild's serene gameplay style. When there is music, it's a simulation of battle, about how it's always chaotic and unpredictable. And also, as you progress through the game and get into the good stuff, the music is absolutely stunning. Calamity Ganon's fight theme is so bold and dark, and I love it. All the little details of Breath of the Wild build up into this masterpiece of a game. And this theme is reflected in Breath of the Wild's outstanding presentation. Now this game truly redefined the genre. The last category is preference. Did I like Breath of the Wild more or Mario Odyssey? Both are great games, both deserve the love that they got. I'll have to go with Mario Odyssey though. Breath of the Wild was such a great game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It took quite a bit of time, but after sticking with it, yeah, it was absolutely one of the greatest games to ever grace the Switch. But I think that Mario Odyssey was so much more fun in the long run. I enjoyed myself running around and jumping and just, letting go. And I kinda like not taking games seriously all the time. I like how it wasn't as serious as Breath of the Wild, how it wasn't as deep as Breath of the Wild, even how it wasn't as incredible as Breath of the Wild. I still enjoyed a good majority of what Mario Odyssey had to offer. But that was just me. This last category is up to you. Which game do you prefer? Horizon Zero Dawn! Darn it, PlayStation fans.